everyone, and welcome to Y Arts. I'm Michelle from the Morgan YMCA, and today I am excited to share with you a delicious and nutritious snack that you can make at home with your kiddos. We are going to make something called energy bites, and you may be thinking, do I want my kids to have more energy while they're stuck at home with me? And the answer is yes, you do, because not only is it good and nutritious for them, but it also is for you. You can make this for yourself as well. So before I start, I just want to show you, I always keep a large bowl here to the side of my cooking counter, and that's my garbage bowl, so that way I can kind of discard things really quickly and easily. The first thing we start with today is some ripe bananas. For those of you who think those bananas are way beyond the point of eating, that's actually incorrect, because this is the best part to bake with. Banana bread is made with bananas like this. All of the sugar in the bananas gets really sweet at this point, and this is what allows us to not add and dump in a ton of other sugar. So you're going to take 2 ripe bananas. I like to break them up just a little bit here in the bowl. And then we are going to start to mash them. So today, I'm going to use the potato masher, which looks like this, a banana masher it is today. But if you didn't have this, you could use a large fork or put those kiddos to work and use those tiny little hands to mash up your bananas here. So the consistency that we're looking for is nice and smooth, but you can go a little chunky with it. So it just kind of depends what your preference is. If you prefer to have little bits of banana kind of chunks running through it, then you can leave it a little bit thicker. And if you want it smoother, you can really kind of go to town. So I like mine smoother with just a little bit of small bits running through. So I'm going to give it a nice kind of hard mashing up and down, and then giving it a little swirl. And I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done here. Okay, that looks about right. It's still going to continue to be incorporated as you mix in the other ingredients. So let me take a look like that. That's what your bananas want to look like for me anyways. That's the consistency I'm looking for. So to this, I am going to add some peanut butter and some honey. A trick to get honey out of your measuring cup is to give it a quick little squirt of canola oil or olive oil, so that way it doesn't stick to the measuring cup. It easily kind of pops out. If not, you might be scooping it out for a while. So you're going to take 1/4 of a cup of honey. I'm going to set this down so I can get it out a little bit easier. And any kind of honey that you like. Doesn't have to be clover or anything. This particular honey was, the famous bear honey, which everybody probably has in their pantry. Honey actually, it has antioxidants in it, so it's really good for you. It coats the throat when you have a sore throat. It is a lovely ingredient. It's a natural sugar, so it's better for your body as well. So we're gonna dump this right in and see how quickly and easily that comes out. There's no stickiness there. Okay. So once you get your honey in the bowl, you're gonna give that a nice mix. That's looking beautiful. You see the consistency starting to get a little bit wet. Okay, so now we're gonna add our peanut butter into this mixture, and I left it over here. Okay, so I'm gonna get 1/4 of a cup of peanut butter. Look at that, it was like a perfect scoop. Amazing. I've made this recipe once or twice, if you can tell. One thing I love about this recipe is it's very versatile. So if you don't like peanut butter, if you have an allergy, you can use a nut substitute. You can do, I've tried it with sunflower butter, so sun butter. I've used it with almond butter. And then there's ones, of course, that are totally nut-free. So it's very versatile regardless if you have any allergies. Okay, so this is nice and combined here. You can still still see when I mix it like this that there's still those little bits of banana chunks in there, which will be a delicious bite. So to this, you're gonna add 2 cups of rolled oats. You definitely want to use rolled oats in this, although if you don't have it in your pantry at home, that's totally okay. You can use quick cooking oats. I would just cut back a little bit on the honey, so that way you want the oats to be able to absorb the liquid and get soft. And so if you put too much in there, oops, sorry, I'm used to eyeballing things. So let me get my second cup. But anyways, as I was saying, you want to be able to have enough liquid in there that it's not going to drown the other ingredients. But this rolled oats, this will give it time to soften because you're going to want to refrigerate this for 2 hours. So all different companies, they do things differently. So you have a basic recipe, right? But here's the cool thing about it. Sometimes it says 2 tablespoons of this, 2 tablespoons of this, and you put it in, and then it still looks too wet or it's too dry. So you just have to kind of be a little intuitive. So I'm going to show you what I mean here. I put in 2 cups of rolled oats, but I can tell that this batter is still a little too wet, and so I'm just going to add a little bit at a time. Just sprinkle a little in, and then give it another mix until I can tell that the consistency is going to pull together. And the reason why that is important is because if not, it's going to stay this sticky mess for too long and it won't form into the little balls that we're trying to do at the end. So I still think we need just a little bit more. So I'm going to add that in. Okay, that's looking better. Okay, so the last ingredient, this is so easy, is to get some mini chocolate chips. Of course, regular size chocolate chips would do just fine. The recipe calls for 2 tablespoons. I usually like to do an extra one just because who doesn't love chocolate? And I feel like we deserve it right now. Everybody's having the hard time, but the one thing we can do is to eat well and to enjoy life and the little things that we can. So I'm gonna mix this up, get it all nice and incorporated. Okay, that is looking scrumptious. All right, so if you had a little cupcake scoop, you could use that. One of the little miniature ones would go great. If you don't, then I would just use a little bit of, or maybe like my tablespoon measurement here. But before I do that, the very, very last thing that we do, and this is optional if you don't like cinnamon, you certainly don't have to add this in, but it's 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. You could do a little bit more, half if you really like it. I love cardamom. Cardamom is my favorite spice to do, and I'll swap it out instead of using cinnamon in a lot of baking dishes. So here's a little bit of cinnamon. That just kind of brings a warm flavor to it. Kind of reminds you of better times and holidays. All right, that looks amazing. So if you were at home and you have some parchment paper, I would line some parchment paper out on a baking sheet. I'm going to use my trusty cutting board today. And one easy thing, if you find that the batter's really sticky, especially if you're doing this with your little ones, you can take a bowl here of just regular water. And if you dip your fingers in just like this, it's gonna help you form the batter without it getting really sticky to your hand. So that's just a helpful little trick. So you wanna get like 1 to 2 tablespoons, kind of depending on how big you want it. And just like you were playing with Play-Doh, roll it into a delicious little ball and set it down, voila. So I'm gonna continue doing this. I'll repeat until it's all done. And I'll show you what they look like when we're finished. Okay, so here is the finished product. If you wanted to make them smaller, you can make up to 16. If you wanted to make them a little bit bigger, it's totally your preference and up to you. After they're fully formed, you want to put them in the refrigerator for 2 hours so they can fully set. The oats can soften, they'll be ready to eat. They also can be stored in the fridge and freezer. So pop them into the freezer and take one out at a time, up to 3 months. Yay, awesome. Thank you for joining us at the Y. We are committed to helping you stay active and engaged during this time. I appreciate you rolling up your sleeves and joining me in the kitchen. Watch this space for more episodes coming soon. Bye.